This is just a little samba built upon a single note. Other notes are...
Hola, Thomas Gunther for PopJazzKeys.com. This video tutorial is for jazz pianists who want to learn how to authentically accompany a singer or instrumentalist in Bossa Nova style. Just to be clear, in this video, I'm not going to talk about jazz harmony, chord progressions, voicings, and this kind of stuff. It's about the Bossa Nova Samba rhythm. This means I'm assuming you already know the basics of how to voice jazz chords. But even if you don't, all my examples are based on jazz chord progressions, so all you have to do is analyze what I'm doing and go from there. All the accompaniment patterns, rhythms, and examples I show you in this video, you can download for free, along with other good stuff at popjazzkeys.com/Bossa Nova Samba. There are two types of patterns that are being used in Brazilian music: one-bar patterns and two-bar patterns. Now, there's really only one important one-bar pattern that is being played all the time. And I want to start you off with that one. It's great for easing you into the Bossa Nova style. And after that, we go into the more complex two-bar patterns. Let's start with the left hand. In bar 1 and 2, the bass is only playing half notes. The pitches are the root notes of each chord. The right hand plays on beat 1, 2, and the end of 3. In this case, we play the downbeat short, but there are songs where you hear all notes being played long or short or any combination thereof. This is, of course, the simplest form of the one-bar pattern. Throughout the video, I will show you more sophisticated left-hand patterns and how you can spice up the right-hand pattern as well. Here's an example how we can create variations of the right hand of the one-bar pattern by simply changing the length of the notes with articulations without actually changing the rhythm. This was just an example to show you how different the one-bar pattern can sound when you change the articulations. You would never do this in a song, change the articulations from bar to bar, maybe from A section to A section or B section. The whole point about accompaniment patterns is, of course, that we can apply them to any chord progression and song we want. In order to do this, we need to memorize them independently from any key or chord progression. The way to do this is using rhythmic notation. Let me show you. We want to convert this into that. To do this for the right hand is very simple. All we have to do is convert it into rhythmic notation. For the left hand, I use a one-bar staff system with rhythmic notation with a chordal scale degree number for each note. Now that we have it as a rhythmic notation, we can combine it with any chord progression we want. Here's an example. There's another version of this one-bar pattern out there that's very popular. Here's Antonio Carlos Jobim playing it. See if you can hear the difference. Only one thing has changed, but it makes a big difference because it drives the rhythm much more forward. And that's that we're anticipating the downbeat. That's especially significant when the chord changes. Let me show you. to this point, I have mainly talked about the right-hand pattern, but there are many left-hand patterns that we can combine with the one-bar pattern and any of the two-bar patterns that I will talk about a little later in this video. Here are 6 authentic left-hand patterns that I heard Brazilian pianists use when they were performing without a bass player. It's really important to keep the bass relatively simple in this type of music. Rhythmically, it's all about beat 1 and 3. Any other notes are just embellishing notes. And harmonically, it focuses on the chordal root and fifth. The rhythm is easy. It's a dotted quarter note followed by an eighth note twice. This is actually the rhythm that most bass players in North America and Europe would play if you say, hey, play a bossa nova. Pitch-wise, it's just the root and the fifth of the chord. Now we're getting into the really good stuff, the 2-bar bossa nova samba patterns. They are really interesting, a lot of fun to play, but also not that easy. Now it's time to introduce you to the famous Partido Alto rhythm. This rhythm is considered the base of all Brazilian music, especially Bossa Nova Samba music. So what is it? Let's take a look. The Partido Alto can be notated in 2 ways, in 4/4 meter or 2/4 meter, and it shows you this right here. Jazz musicians prefer 4/4 meter. That's because most Bossa Nova lead sheets are also written in 4/4 meter. So I'm going to stick to this idea here too. Just like the Cuban clave, the Partido Alto can also be played in reverse, meaning that we first play bar 2 and then bar 1. Here are some of the most used 2-bar bossa nova patterns based on the Partido Alto. Here are the same pattern you just heard, only in reverse. Arguably, the most important instrument in Bossa Nova Samba music is not the piano, but the rhythm guitar. So next, I want to look at Antonio Carlos Jobim's rhythm guitar figures and find a way to transfer that to the piano.
This is just a little samba built upon a single note. Other notes are bound to follow, but the root is still that note. This new one is just a consequence of the one we've just been through, as I'm bound to be the unavoidable consequence of you.
As pianists, we don't just want to copy the guitar part, of course, but we can use it as the basis of our piano accompaniment. Let me show you.
This is just a little samba built upon a single note. Other notes are bound to follow, but the root is still that note.
Let me quickly show you how my piano part relates to Jobim's guitar playing. I basically play the rhythm of the guitar part with only the right hand. You can see that the lower notes are often played as single notes, and then the chords may have only 2 notes. The right hand is actually more tricky than you might think. There's a lot of polyphony going on. The lower single notes are sometimes sustained, while the upper part is playing chords. Let's just listen to the right hand for a little bit. So how do we practice something like this? The first thing I do is notate it in a key-independent way. And here's what this looks like. As you can see, I used slash note heads. Let's first look at the right hand. The lower note heads are to be played with the thumb. Everything else is to be played as chords, or at least two notes at the same time. Here is an example of what this looks like when being applied to a simple chord progression. The left hand looks a lot like what a bass player would play. The 1 and the 3 is really important. They're usually playing the root notes of the chord, sometimes the 5th, and then there are some anticipations at the end of 2 and the end of 4, played with a softer touch. So once you learn this pattern, you can apply it to any chord progression you want. Let me show you. I want to close out this video with a rhythm that I got from one of my favorite Brazilian pianists, Tania Maria. You got to check her out. This rhythm is a little more on the samba side. It emphasizes beat 3 in the left hand, and the right hand is very syncopated. Check it out.